The death of Ajit Pawar hasn't sunk in yet. On India Matters tonight, we are starting with a video news break that shows this shocking aircraft tragedy in new light. That's the new video that you are about to watch. The breaking news we're getting to you right now as part of our rolling coverage here on NDTV. The second video of the Learjet carrying Ajit Pawar and 4 others crashing has been obtained by NDTV, and this is that video, and it reveals many new things that we didn't know about this flight before. I want to point your attention, viewer, look very carefully to what I'm pointing at. The aircraft so far had been understood to be in controlled flight and then went into terrain. But look closely at these images, viewer. Just look very, very closely at the aircraft as it comes into view, and you will see that the aircraft has actually turned entirely on its side. The aircraft has completely banked on its side, suggesting that the pilots were not in control of the aircraft, because at such a low altitude, especially while landing, there is absolutely no occasion, no reason for a pilot to bank an aircraft so violently. And as you can see, the aircraft is almost completely on its side, which suggests one of two things. Either the pilots were trying to avoid something and veer the aircraft away from something, or they had completely lost control of the aircraft itself, and the aircraft was just doing its own thing, rolling onto its side, and then it crashed. You can see the fireball as well right at the end of this video. So this is a very troubling image. I want to advise viewer discretion, because in the course of my show tonight, I am going to be showing you troubling images of an air tragedy as it has been captured on camera. I'm going to have my reporters in Baramati up in just a short moment from now. In just a moment from now, I'm going to have our reporters up to talk about this video, because this captures the final 8 to 10 seconds of the air tragedy at 8:46 this morning, in which Ajit Pawar passed away. Now, so far, our understanding of the tragedy has been that there was low visibility, that this was a tabletop runway at Baramati, and I will show you images of that in just a short while from now as well, but that the aircraft was in control. It had attempted to land once already, and it was during the second attempt that the crash took place. Now we can see from these pictures that the aircraft, far from being in control, had actually rolled completely onto its side. Was this deliberate? Was this loss of control? Only the aircraft accident investigation will know. But what I've shown you is the final 8 seconds. Now I want to show you the 26 minutes that led to this tragedy, because those entire final 26 minutes will tell a much more detailed story. NDTV has decoded some parts of this deadly crash. Others may say that they've gotten to the bottom of it. We will claim no such thing, because we take the truth very seriously on this network. Ajit Pawar was killed in this crash. He was the Deputy Chief Minister of Maharashtra, and this was in his home turf of Baramati this morning. The crash raises very serious questions, viewer, as does this new video that we are showing you right now. Was it human error? Was it a mechanical fault? Was it pilot disorientation? Was it a catastrophic failure within the aircraft? The last 26 minutes of this flight, this Learjet 45XR flight, is where the answer really lies. There was a tabletop runway, which is Baramati. It's not even really a civilian airport. It's an airport that's used mostly for training aircraft, general aviation, VIP flights. The Pawar family lives in Baramati. But there was apparently very low visibility, and the plane clearly, as you can see in these pictures, turned onto its side and then crashed just a few meters down from that tabletop runway. Okay. So let me detail for you once again what those final moments looked like. At 8:18 a.m., about 8 minutes after this flight took off, the aircraft, which has the registration number VTSSK, established initial contact with the Baramati air traffic control. The crew was advised, viewer, to descend under visual meteorological conditions. That basically means when there's a lot of cloud, they're asked to descend, lower their altitude and fly below the clouds so they're able to visually navigate. A go-around was initiated, which means the aircraft first attempted to land in Baramati at one point of time, but it had to go around after the first approach to runway by the aircraft was aborted for various reasons. Maybe they were, they were coming in too fast. They had overshot the distance to the runway. There could be a variety of reasons, but they were given orders to go around and attempt a second landing. At 8:43 this morning, the aircraft was cleared to land on runway 11. This would be the second attempt to land at Baramati. But this time, when the Baramati Air Traffic Control gave those orders, gave those instructions and clearance to the pilots to land the aircraft, they did not get a verbal acknowledgement back. There was no read back of this landing clearance that came in from the crew in the cockpit of the aircraft. And at 8:46, between 8:44 and 8:46, flames were reported near the threshold of runway 11. So those were the last 26 minutes of the flight that killed Ajit Pawar.
Ajit Pawar, the people's hero, and his untimely death, which raises some critical questions. The last 26 minutes of Ajit's flight are very crucial in understanding what led to the crash. Baramati is an uncontrolled airfield, and information is relayed through the flying training organizations in Baramati. At 8:18 a.m., the aircraft first came in contact with Baramati, and at the next call, they were allowed to come down for landing at the pilot's discretion if weather conditions were suitable. The aircraft's crew then inquired about the persisting wind conditions and were told the conditions were calm and visibility was around 3,000 meters. As the plane was on the final approach to runway 11, they couldn't see the runway. The crew aborted the landing and attempted a second landing, also known as a go-around. After the go-around, the crew were asked to report their position and whether the runway was in sight. Upon confirmation from the crew, they were cleared for a second landing. At 8:43 a.m., the aircraft was cleared for landing. However, the crew did not give a readback of the landing clearance. The aircraft descended, and at 8:44 a.m., the ATC saw the flames at the runway landing area. The investigation of the crash continues, and we wait for some critical questions to be answered. With Saurabh Gupta, an NDTV Bureau Report.
Now you have this visual, the last 8 seconds of the flight in your mind, and like I told you, the aircraft turned onto its side before crashing. Now I want to show you where this aircraft crashed. I've got the clearest visual now establishing where the aircraft actually crashed. If you look at this, this is the end of the Baramati runway, and this is actually the beginning of the Baramati runway where the aircraft would have made contact and landed over here. This is the tabletop runway. If you can see, it's a tabletop runway, which means it is an elevated surface, almost like a table. And this here is the crash site. That's the tail of the plane that you see down there. That's the crowd you see. And this is the huge debris field. So this is where it should have landed. And this is where the crash site is. So something catastrophic has happened. We don't know whether it is because it was a tabletop runway, but this gives you a perspective of what that actually looked like. Now I will show you why tabletop runways are considered to be high risk and give pilots very little room for maneuver and no second chances. There is zero margin for overrun because there is already an altitude differential, albeit a slight one, but that reduces your margin for error. No margin for overrun. The illusion of extra runway length exists on a tabletop runway. Higher approach precision is required in a tabletop runway compared to a normal runway. restricted go-around operations. This is what aviators tell us. There are restrictions on the number of attempts you can have. Weather obviously amplifies the risk because you've basically got something that looks like a speed bump and you're trying to land on it. Pilot pressure and SOP discipline is of an even higher requirement when trying to land on these, and especially in bad weather. And believe me when I tell you, even here in India, there are a number of examples, including recent examples, when tabletop runways have turned deadly for passenger jets. Remember the famous Mangaluru crash of 2010? An Air India Express flight 812 approached a runway from the sea. It was an aircraft that was coming in from the Gulf. The aircraft was unstable before the approach actually began. It overshot the runway after touchdown, and the aircraft plunged into a 35-meter deep gorge. At the end of that runway, 158 passengers were killed. There were only 8 survivors. This was 15 years ago. Cut to much more recently to Kozhikode or Calicut in Kerala in 2020. This was an Air India Express flight once again, flight 1344. The aircraft landed on a wet runway amidst heavy rain. The aircraft failed to stop in time. It overran the runway and the aircraft fell into a steep 12-meter deep gorge at the end of the runway. Once again, 21 passengers were killed, 130 were injured. This is what aviators tell us about tabletop runways and why they are especially risky in terms of recovering aircraft. NDTV's Saurabh Vakhtania was one of the first journalists to report from the Baramati tabletop runway where this crash took place.
The plane was coming from that side and it had to land from here, and that's the airstrip over here on the left side of mine. यहाँ पर आप देखें कि ये आपको जो तस्वीरें मैं दिखा दूं कि ये एयरस्ट्रिप है, यानी कि ये जो रनवे है और इस रनवे पर इस प्लेन को लैंड होना था। यहाँ पर ऐसे कोई सहूलियत नहीं है कि यहाँ पर एक जो अत्याधुनिक जो चीज़ें होती है वैसी कुछ नहीं है। एक मेकशिफ्ट यहाँ पर एयरपोर्ट और रनवे बनाया गया है क्योंकि बारामती में ऐसा कोई एयरपोर्ट मौजूद नहीं है, तो ये इस तरीके से ये रोड यहाँ पर बना हुआ है, वो रनवे मौजूद है। एंड व्हाट द ऑफिशियल्स आर टेलिंग अस दैट इन द मॉर्निंग देयर वाज लॉट ऑफ मिस्ट एंड द रनवे वाज नॉट विजिबल एट ऑल। रिमेंबर द प्लेन वाज कमिंग फ्रॉम दैट साइड। यहाँ पर जो ठीक पीछे जो मेरी तस्वीर देख रहे हैं उस जगह से इस प्लेन को आना था। पहले राउंड में जब ये प्लेन यहाँ पर आता है, ऑन द फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट द पायलट टू द एटीसी ऑफिशियल क्लियरली सेड दैट द रनवे इज नॉट विजिबल। पायलट ने साफ तौर पे एटीसी को कहा कि मुझे रनवे नहीं दिख रहा है, बहुत धुंध है। तो आई विटनेस हमें बता रहे हैं कि प्लेन बहुत नज़दीक आ गया था एंड देन इट हैड टू मेक अ गो राउंड फ्रॉम दिस प्लेस। सो आफ्टर मेकिंग अ गो राउंड इट केम बैक अगेन। इवन देन द पायलट सेड दैट द विजुअल्स ऑफ रनवे आर नॉट क्लियरली विजिबल एंड देन देयर वाज नो कॉन्टैक्ट with the pilot and the ATC. Here you can see, and then crashed at this particular place. Now the NDRF team is over here. There are also several other officials who are present over here. The area is completely cordoned off. Over here you can see how this particular airstrip has been made. It's a makeshift airstrip over here, and it missed the airstrip and it has crashed over here.
The 2 pilots who were flying the Learjet 45XR, 2 pilots employed with the aviation firm VSR Enterprises, these were the 2 pilots in the aircraft. The lead pilot was Captain Sumit Kapoor, who had about 15,000 hours on various aircraft. He had been employed with passenger airlines before this. And young Captain Shambhavi Pathak was the co-pilot, much younger, just starting out in her career, but of course had about 1,500 hours of her own as well. Both of these pilots were employed by a company that chartered these flights called VSR. But first, let me tell you a little bit about the aircraft itself. The aircraft that crashed, the one that they were flying, was a Bombardier Aerospace Learjet 45XR. Bombardier is a Canadian company. The Bombardier Learjet 45XR is a very well-known, well-established, sophisticated business jet of the kind that crashed today. It's a twin-engine, light business jet, commonly used for corporate and VIP travel. In fact, Ajit Pawar had traveled extensively in this very same aircraft. NDTV had even interviewed him in the very same aircraft just a few weeks ago before the crash. Small size, high speed, suitable for short and medium sectors, fast dashes. operated by VSR, the company, and it was registered as VTSSK. The company that flies these aircraft and charters them to politicians and other dignitaries employs about 60 pilots with high customer service, owned and operated by a company called VSR Ventures Private Limited. It's a 15-year-old Delhi-based private aviation company. The aircraft was claimed to be 100% safe. Obviously, the company, its pilots, its protocols, its routine of maintenance, etc., will all come under scrutiny, especially since the very aircraft that crashed today had also met with an accident back in September 2023. Take a look at what the owner of the company has said.
उसमें ना तो आप थे ना मैं था कोई नहीं था वो पायलट का डिसीजन था he made an approach from runway 29 and then he carried out a missed approach after which again he tried to make an attempt from runway 11. This is what I also have no contact with the pilots. They are not there. It is a very unfortunate incident. We are very sad about it. We are trying to first be with the family, solidly with the family who have lost their next of kins. It's a very unfortunate incident. Primarily, it appears that, the pilot could not see the runway and that's why he would have carried out the misapproach.
So these are the 5 questions I'm asking at this point of time tonight, viewer. 5 critical questions I'm asking, and please remember the video that I've just shown you. Did the aircraft suffer some kind of a mid-air failure? Why did the pilot fail to land in the first attempt? Because we know that there was a second attempt after the first one was aborted. Was the crew disoriented as a result of poor visibility and poor weather? What communications took place between the cockpit and the ground crew in those final moments, only some of which we are able to gain access to? Was the Learjet 45XR aircraft 100% airworthy? This will be a matter of investigation going into this crash probe that the agencies have begun right now. I want to speak to the experts and try and understand what could have happened. Now remember, these are still very early moments. The wreckage of the aircraft has been inspected. The critical components and parts have been recovered from the crash site, and they will all be scrutinized threadbare. The processes, the maintenance practices, the history of the company, the history of the pilots, all of these will be under scrutiny now following this particular crash, as any accident is investigated in this country. Joining me live now, Captain Kabir Malik, who is a charter airline pilot himself with 18 years experience in airline services. He's also an aviation expert. And Captain Amit Singh is founder of Safety Matters Foundation and is an air safety expert himself. Thank you very much to the both of you for joining me tonight. It's a sad day, always a sad day when an air accident takes place. Captain Malik, to you first. Based on what we have seen so far and what we are reporting to be confirmed so far, what would you say may have happened? We know there was low visibility. We know there was one landing attempt. We know it was a tabletop runway. We know from this video that we've just obtained that the aircraft was on its side as it impacted the ground. What is your best guess as to what may have happened?
See, I would like to know about this runway. First of all, this runway is uncontrolled zone. It is inactive runway. It is not equipped with the ILS instrument. It is not ILS landing runway actually. And whenever any VIP or protocol, in the protocol, any flight has to be take off or landing, it must be sure that runway should be equipped with all the emergency and the ILS also. But this runway, it was not equipped, it is uncontrolled runway. And what I saw in the morning, when visuals I saw, that time I saw the fog and the weather was very dense that time also. So I am really surprised who gave the permission to take off from Mumbai and land to Baramati this time. Because an uncontrolled zone, there is a aviation law. If there is no visibility and some problem in the weather, then the permission of landing and takeoff is not permitted by the authorities. But it did happen with whom permission it was required and gave by the permission gave by whom it is the question one to investigate. Secondly, when the pilot know very well that he is not able to the landing in the first attempt, and this runway is not ILS runway, instrument landing system is not there. He have to be aboard the landing, and he go around, and he have to be go back to the Mumbai runway, because it was very it is very clear in the aviation law that if some VIP and protocol is there, then the first attempt is it is failed, then they have to be go around and they have to report to the base. If they got the permission something else or nearby runway, then they will try there somewhere of the landing attempt.
Okay. Captain Amit Singh, what would you say may have happened?
Well, there are a number of reasons, like he's highlighted. There's no instrument approach on the runway, but these are modern aircrafts, highly sophisticated aircrafts. They don't need a ground-based equipment, but at least the procedure has to be drawn up. So in India, the problem is the procedures for these performance-based navigation, which is without the aid of ground aids. That is just a paper exercise, paper and a simulator. Even that is not done for most of the airports, and especially when you are carrying VVIPs. We have something called a VASI or a PAPI, which guides the aircraft visually. These are lights on the ground, basically, which tells the pilots whether he is high or low on the approach. So even that is not installed. That is a basic minimum that needs to be installed. So this aircraft, if you see the runway, the markings are faded. You have faded markings.
Yeah.
So if a pilot is approaching from the east, from the west to the east, you have the rising sun. The rising sun is in the pilot's eyes. It's scattering the light. And there's something called on the tabletop runways, especially the depth perception goes away. You have seen in the Calicut accident and other tabletop runway accidents that the pilots tend to duck under. That is a visual illusion which is caused, that you are high, because there is no reference on the sides.
Yeah.
So that is one of the reasons that the aircraft could have gone below. But as seen from the visuals, it is a controlled descent.
Yeah.
It is not the aircraft has dived down.
But Captain Singh, the aircraft in this final video, I'm not sure if you've had a chance to see it, but the video that we've just obtained shows the aircraft completely on its side. It has turned completely onto its side before crashing into the ground. So I'm wondering whether that shows control or lack of control, or loss of control, or an attempt to avoid something. Captain Malik, what would you say about that? The aircraft is on its side.
I would like to know about the situation of the runway. You saw the visual. There was two roads were there. Okay, one on the left side of the runway, and the right side on the right side it is a runway. So I think there might be some confusion in the cockpit, that he was not able to identify the runway position exactly. That why he tried next attempt to land. When he come to it, when it's come to in his knowledge that he is not proper in the landing of the runway, then he lost the control, and might be it happened because of weather also, the factor of this in this incident also. And I know some of basic reasons in uncontrolled on runway, when the visual are not clear of 5 nautical miles from the air or on the ground towards of aircraft, then there is no possibility to land the aircraft or take off from that particular runway. And they ignored this thing, and because of this ignorancy, they bear this loss. And I think there is some misunderstanding between the ground staff and the cockpit crew also.
Okay, I want to, there's a bit of a problem with the video with Captain Amit Singh, and I'm going to try and fix that because we can barely see you, sir. We'll try and fix that. I think you're in a place with a bad signal, but Captain Malik mentioned something about the runway. So I want to put on our screens once again here the picture of the runways. You've seen the video of the aircraft actually going down. Let's look at the runway once again. It's one single runway. There are no two runways. It's one single runway on which the aircraft tried to land. It's a pretty short runway because passenger jets don't land here. General aviation, VIP aircraft, etc. land here. Training aircraft land here. And it's a tabletop surface. So I am just wondering, what may have happened? Where did the error actually occur? And as the aircraft went down, it was completely on its side. Now we have video proof to show that the aircraft was on its side. Captain Amit Singh, what does that show? The aircraft being on its side, what does that suggest to you? Because when you're coming into land, the aircraft will never be on its side.
If you see the tail of the aircraft, the rudder is fully deflected to the left, which could give an indication because the flight controls stay in the last position at which the accident happens. So a full left deflection means the pilot has given a left rudder and wants the nose to turn left. So it could be possibly an engine failure for which they are compensating left rudder. So if one engine fails, the aircraft will move, the nose will move towards the opposite side. So to compensate that, you have to give a rudder. So it could be a technical issue combined with the visibility problems and all these. So an accident never happens because of one issue. There are contributing factors. So it is highly likely that there could be a possible technical issue which is combined with the visual illusions and the visibility.
Okay, I'm gonna try and get our producers, I'm gonna try and get my colleagues to freeze a picture of that aircraft on its side and then zoom it on this screen as much as possible. I'm gonna try and give them a chance to do that and put the biggest possible zoom of the aircraft that's on its side at particularly that point on this screen, because I want our experts and I want our viewers to see the orientation and the position, the posture of the aircraft during those final moments, because I believe that could actually hold the key as to what happened. Captain Amit Singh says that the rudder has been deflected completely to the to one direction, which means the pilots were trying to compensate for some kind of stresses or forces that may have been acting on the aircraft. Was this possibly because of some kind of lack of control? Was this because of trying to avoid something? Was it trying to align the aircraft better to actually land? We don't know, but this is simply too low for the aircraft to be on its side. Captain Malik, again I ask you, why would the aircraft be on its side? Okay, we can't see anything in this freeze. Let's get the aircraft a little bit more and zoom a little bit more so our viewers can see it just a little bit more clearly. Captain Malik, why would the aircraft be on its side?
See, as per Captain Amit said, I agree with his statement. But as per my experience, what I just guess through this, there must be some, some mistake inside the cockpit had happened by the pilot at the time of the landing, because I think he lost the control. I don't think so. There is some problem with the machinery, because if it was happened there something, definitely he would throw the mayday call to the ATC, but it was not there. When he about the touchdown, he just declared that time the mayday because he assumed that he is going to be in a big trouble. That's why he just flashed the mayday call. So might be a few of more factors in this, but we could not be assumed right now. I cannot say until unless we will not get the report from the black box. We have to be wait for this. We only can assume right now, and we can place our experience, our statement through this only. So exactly we cannot be say what was happened exactly inside the cockpit, but something went wrong definitely. But there is something serious. It was, and and I'm sure it was the big factor of weather also.
I am going to raise a lot of questions which will make people uncomfortable, but I'd like to thank you, Captain Malik, Captain Singh, for joining me on this, because the same aircraft owned by the same company suffered an accident in 2023. And here's the big joke. Our reporters are telling us that the accident investigation is not completed in that. And now after today's accident, the people in the DGCA are saying, now we will complete that accident report as a result of this, which means if the aircraft hadn't crashed today, the original accident from September 2023 may have never seen a final crash investigation report. That is the reality of what we're reporting. Bear that in mind. Joining us live now, first and exclusive here on NDTV, is Naresh Arora, founder of Design Box. He's a close advisor, a political consultant and advisor to Ajit Pawar. He's one of the last persons to have met him and spoken with him. Naresh, good to have you here on a very, very tragic day for you personally as well, for the party and for Maharashtra. Your first thoughts tonight, Naresh. You're in Baramati, I am assuming.
Yeah, Shiv, we are in Baramati, and words fail us today on how to express our emotions. It's a personal loss first. That's all what I can say.
What can you tell us about your understanding of what may have happened, Naresh?
Well, I'm not an expert on this, Shiv, but because my team was there at that airstrip by the early morning that he was to land at, and we were to speak the moment he landed because there was something which we had to discuss after he landed. So I was on call with my team because I had sent him a message which didn't get delivered according to my calculation of time after taking off from Mumbai. So I called my team that if the plane has landed or not, and they told me that the plane is just about to land, and while they were on the call, this happened.
Naresh, Ajit Pawar had, used this aircraft, this charter service many times before. Was there any reason for concern according to you? Any issues that were faced in the past? Okay, we have a small link problem there with Naresh. We'll try and re-establish that. Naresh Arora is a political consultant, founder of Design Box, and one of the closest political advisors to Ajit Pawar, someone who had full access to him, someone who was waiting in Baramati to receive Ajit Pawar when he arrived there for his political commitments in the constituency in view of the Zilla Parishad elections. We'll get Naresh back in just a moment. You've just heard the first words from him. He's in Baramati. The internet is a little sketchy over there. We'll try and re-establish that link in just a moment. Condolences are pouring in from across party lines for Ajit Pawar. He may have been an abrasive, controversial politician in life. He may have had bitter rivalries on the political battlefield, but in death, he has united all of Maharashtra's politicians. His home turf of Baramati is mourning. It's